Hello everyone, Dr. Maiden here. I am bringing a video to you today that will hopefully be of particular interest to you political science majors or people that are in a related discipline considering getting a PhD in political science. So the question I'm answering with this video is, if I pursued a PhD in political science, what would I actually do, right? What do you do while you're getting that degree? What does it entail? And this is a really important question for more professors to be more open with students about answering, because I can tell you, having gone through a dual PhD program where I was working with people across a host of disciplines trying to get their PhDs, a lot of us go and get PhDs without really understanding what that means. And we're fumbling through it, and it's really stressful. And you tend to have a lot of people that will get into the program and realize, this is not what I expected, this is not what I wanted, and they drop out of their programs. And so I feel like more work on the front hand from faculty to reach out to you directly at the undergraduate level and say, this is what a PhD looks like from the inside, is very beneficial to students, so that you're not wasting your time in pursuing something that's not for you, or that you know exactly what you're getting into if it is for you. Okay, so there are essentially 4 components to a PhD program. I'm speaking here from my experience doing political science and peace studies. Those are social sciences of a PhD. So first, you should know timeline. It can take you anywhere from like 5 to 8 years to complete a PhD in political science. I know people that have taken longer, and I know people that have taken shorter. A lot of universities are in a crunch time now where they are not letting students, or they are not funding students to go longer than 5 years. Maybe you can squeak out a 6th year if you get additional funding, or if you have a really good reason why you need a 6th year. But they're really trying to pressure PhDs to get finished within that reasonable window of 5 with maybe an additional 6 years. Okay, so within those 5 years, 4 things are happening, just like different branches of the PhD, and most of them are happening simultaneously. So the first one is learning. You are learning. You're taking classes for the first 2 to 3 years. Sometimes people even pepper in a few after that. The first 2 to 3 years, you are still a full-time student. You are taking classes within your 2 subfields. I'm going to link down below to the video I did on that about what the subfields are in political science. In most cases, you will be accepted into a PhD program with the expectation of, I will have 2. I will have a first field and a second field. In my case, I was comparative politics and international relations. So you will know that going in, you will apply going in saying, these will be my fields. Then you're taking core coursework in those 2 fields. The whole point of the learning stage where you're taking classes is you are preparing yourself to take your comprehensive exams. And your comprehensive exams, there will be 1 for each of your subfields. They are very grueling exams. You'll be working with your advisors on the design of them, and departments differ as to what the design will look like. But you will be taking comprehensive exams. You'll often hear them called my comps. You'll take your comps in both of those fields. And that is just to prove that you do have broad expertise in those 2 fields. So you'll be asked to answer a series of questions. It may have a written component and an oral component. You may have to have like a back and forth with a panel of faculty orally, where you're talking about your expertise in these 2 subfields. Okay, so that's the learning component. That takes about 2 to 3 years. The second component is the research component. You are expected to be a researcher. You are moving your projects, moving your science along the path to publication. So aspects of research also include things like applying for and getting grant funding, collecting data, going into the field and doing field work, participant observation, going to conferences, presenting your research as you're moving down that path to pursuing peer-reviewed publication. Typically in journals is where people start out. You start out doing journal articles, and then a lot of people tend to take maybe their dissertation and turn that into their first book project. But that doesn't suit everyone. Not everyone's background is made so that they're going to be doing books. A lot of people, like especially in American politics, you're going to be doing almost exclusively articles. But that can depend on what your research is and whether it makes sense to do a book as opposed to peer-reviewed articles. But during your PhD process, you will be engaging in heavy research. The dissertation itself, the big capstone project that you're doing, that is you proving that you can research like a political scientist from beginning to end. You are the locomotor of that train all the way through. That is proof of I can do this in a professional capacity, research. So we have learning. You are a student for 2 to 3 years. You are a researcher the whole time you're in the process. And it really kicks off in years 3 to 5 or 6 or 7 when you're doing your dissertation. The third element then is teaching. Again, because as a faculty member, that's what you're being trained to be, you will be expected to teach. So a lot of departments will give you a pass in your first year. They want you to just focus on your teaching. But by your second year, your third year, you will have teaching expectations. Again, departments will differ whether they can actually afford to give you your own class, or in most cases, you will be a teaching assistant, a graduate assistant in another professor's class. So maybe you're just sitting in and you're taking the class, but not as a student, you're taking it as a TA. And so you're more interested in looking at the teaching style, the way they designed the syllabus, rubrics for tests. You're assisting with grading. So you can be active in the class, you can be showing up to class, but you're not leading class. Maybe you lead some of the lectures, but you're not in charge. Another faculty member is in charge. Another version of a TA is you might just be a glorified grader. This can happen especially if there's limited numbers of people or the classes don't quite fit everyone. So you, as a political theory person, end up being assigned as a TA for someone who does international political economy. And so you don't have any expertise, you don't really have a place to be standing giving lectures, but you can assist the professor with all of the behind the scenes things that go on to keep the class moving. An ideal situation for you would be to be taking a class where you get your own section of the class, where you really do have control and you can say, I am leading this part of the class. So especially in intro classes at a lot of universities, it might be like Intro to International Relations. A faculty member does a lecture 2 days a week, and then you as the TA get to do a section, kind of like the lab section, on a third day of the week. That can be ideal because you'll actually get feedback from students. You'll have something that you can use when you go on the market to try and get a job to say, yeah, here's feedback from students. Here's scores that I got from students about my teaching, okay? So you've got learning, research, teaching, and the fourth element there then is service. So there is so much expectation with faculty members that we are performing service to the department, to the university. Now with so many universities, there's a push of community service, getting faculty out, engaging them in local communities. And you as a PhD student will be expected to begin that process. So service could be you are running for student government, you are managing things within your department, you are volunteering to assist at, the university is hosting a conference, your department is hosting a conference, maybe you go to a national or a regional conference and you volunteer at that conference. Anything that you can do where you're saying, I'm putting myself out there, I'm giving of my time, I'm helping people in my community, college community and broader community, there is that expectation that you will be performing service of some kind. Okay, so those are the 4 broad pieces of a PhD program, what you'll actually be doing. Most of this, like I said, is simultaneous. You're juggling all 4 of these responsibilities at the same time. All right, so I'll go into more detail later if people are interested about experiences in a PhD, pitfalls to avoid, things to look for when looking for a PhD program, but this will help you out to at least know what it is, what I'm going to do once I'm inside it. You're going to be learning, you're going to be researching, you're going to be teaching, and you're going to be performing service, okay? Comment down below. If you're one of my students, you can email me, ask questions. I'm happy to meet with students in my office to talk about this in more detail if you'd like. Okay, so have a great day.